Welcome to English Lessons with Dr. Vinamrata.
Essay of Dramatic Poesy written by John Dryden. This is one of the most critical works of John Dryden, and today we will be trying to discuss it and summarize it to the help and benefit of the students. So let's, before moving into the essay and trying to understand and analyze it, first let's start with a quote from Wimsatt and Brooks. Quoting: as the essay published in 1668, it is the most ambitiously constructed critical document of his career and the most important for general literary theory. Unquote. So you see what Wimsatt and Brooks has to say, that whatever Dryden has written in all of his critical works, this essay of dramatic poesy, is his most ambitiously constructed work. Now, coming to John Dryden. John Dryden, 19th of August 1631 to 12th of May 1700. He was an English poet, literary critic, translator, and playwright. He was appointed England's first poet laureate in 1668. He is a dominating figure and writer of Restoration England, and the period came to be known as the Age of Dryden. So that was the impact of Dryden, that the whole age was to be known by his name. He is also referred to as father of criticism, or father of English criticism actually, by Dr. Johnson. Now, although he is referred to as father of English criticism, but his writings are generally in forms of, are actually critical writings, are generally in forms of prefaces and prelogues to whatever books he wrote. So, we'll discuss that in detail. Dryden was a versatile and voluminous writer. He left no branch of literature untouched and produced works unparalleled and outstanding. A poet, dramatist, and prose writer he was indeed, but he was also a real critic. However, the only formal work of criticism he has left behind is his essay on dramatic poesy. It is a work of outstanding merit and the unofficial manifesto of his critical creed. With the exception of essay on dramatic poesy, Dryden's criticism is embodied in the form of numerous prefaces, epilogues, and letters of dedications. So these were the things that basically constructed his critical pieces. And as a part of his texts and works, these prefaces and letters of dedications unravel his critical views. They are valuable critical documents of his theory and practice of poetry. Over a span of 40 years that he wrote, these critical prefaces are the treasures of his critical observations. Now, coming to this particular piece, that is Essay of Dramatic Poesy, which was first published in 1668. It is a critical piece of work by John Dryden in which Dryden attempts to justify drama as a legitimate form of poetry comparable to the epic, as well as defends English drama against that of the ancients and the French. The essay was probably written during the plague year of 1666. That was why, because at that time the theatres were closed, and that was the time when baby Dryden got to focus more on the works of criticism, and it was first published in 1668. In presenting his argument, Dryden takes up the subject that Philip Sidney had set forth in his defense of poesy in 1580. And not only Philip Sidney, but many writers who took up the cause to defend literature whenever it was rebuked, starting from Aristotle. So, Aristotle first defended against the charges levied by Plato, and then we have Sidney, and then we have obviously Dryden. So, coming back to the essay. Essay presents a brief discussion on neoclassical theory of literature. He defends the classical drama, saying that it is an imitation of life and reflects human nature clearly. The setting is that of the day that the English fleet encounters the Dutch at sea near the mouth of the Thames. It is on the backdrop of the war that this critical piece is written. It is assumed that the English and the Dutch, when they were at war, at that time there were four people, four friends who were moving down in a barge downriver, hearing the noise from the battle towards the noise of the battle, and there they started this subject, rightly concluding as the noise subsides that the English have triumphed. So they come to get to the notice that the English has won the battle, and they order the bargemen to row them back upriver as they begin a dialogue on advances made by modern civilization. So you see, it is all created in a kind of, or in a form of drama, where the setting is of the Dutch and English war, and the English wins, and the four friends are happy about that, and then they rejoice, and then they start this discussion. And this discussion though starts from the advances made by modern civilization, and they agreed to measure progress by comparing what ancients have written and what the moderns are doing. So they start comparing from ancient arts with moderns, focusing specially on the art of drama, or what he refers to as dramatic poesy. It is written in the form of a dialogue between four gentlemen, namely Eugenius, Critus, Lycidius, and Neander. Neander, who is also regarded as the mouthpiece of Dryden, and he speaks for Dryden himself, and he is the one who justifies English theatre. Eugenius favors modern English dramatists by attacking the classical playwrights, who did not themselves always observe the plays or the unity of plays. So you see, in the classical time there were the three unities which were to be followed, and Eugenius favors the modern dramatist, saying that although the classical writers put these three unities into place, and they made out this rule that these three unities are to be followed, but they themselves did not observe the unity of place. But Critus, who is defending the ancients, points out that they invited the principles of dramatic art, and that was paved by Aristotle and Horace. Critus opposes rhymes in plays and argues that though the moderns excel in science, the ancient age was the true age of poetry. And Lycidius is there, who defends the French playwrights and attacks the English tendency to mix genres, because you see, Shakespeare till that time was writing tragicomedy. So tragicomedy was a genre which was earlier not observed. The French were used to write either tragedies or comedies, and even the ancient used to do so. So there were generally tragedies written earlier, but it was the free will of Shakespeare, or you can say the creativity or creative genius of Shakespeare, that at the end of the play he would give us a relief. He would unravel the situation into a happy ending and convert it into tragicomedies. Earlier also some ancient writers have observed this kind of writing. So that was what, but French never did so. So that was what Lycidius defends. So these are the four friends we come to see, and these four friends defends their own point of view. Critus is talking about the ancients and defends the ancients. Lycidius defends the French. Eugenius defends the modern English dramatists, and Neander, who is Dryden himself, defends the moderns and also respects the ancients. So he is kind of balancing, and obviously he defends Shakespeare and he defends all the present writers of the Elizabethan age, just before the age of Dryden. So Neander becomes the mouthpiece of Dryden. He speaks in favors of the moderns and respects the ancients. He is, however, critical of the rigid rules of dramas and favors rhyme. So you must not be fixed by rules, and if you feel that rhyme is more easy to be, actually he gives the example, or he gives the proofs, tries to prove the point that the rhyme is easy for the people who are playing, who are acting, for them to remember it. So rhyming can be accepted. So Neander, who is the spokesperson of Dryden, argues that the tragi-comedy or the tragic comedy, Dryden's phrase for what we now call tragi-comedy, is the best form of the play because it is closer to life, in which emotions are heightened by mirth and sadness. He also finds subplots as an integral part to enrich a play, which was again a tendency in the Elizabethan playwrights, especially Shakespeare. He introduced lot of subplots, so that was also not generally earlier followed. So he defends this, saying that it becomes an integral part of the play and it actually enriches a play. He finds single action in French dramas to be rather inadequate, since it is so often has a narrowing and cramping effect. It becomes so monotonous. Neander gives his palm to the violation of the three unities because it leads to the variety in the English plays. Again, here you see the Elizabethans, especially obviously Shakespeare, have been varying from the three unities, be it time, place, or action. So he says that whatever it may be, but it brings a kind of variety in the plays, so one can differ from these three unities. So again, here he defends the modern writers or modern playwrights. Dryden thus argues against the neoclassical ethics, which was generally the tendency which used to talk about following the rules. So one must differ from rules, one can actually differ from rules. So since nobody speaks in rhyme in real life, he supports the use of blank verse in drama. So he finds a midway between the two, that okay, not strictly rhyme, but you can follow blank verse, and says that the use of rhyme in serious plays is justifiable in the place of blank verse. But he also gives the scope that okay, you can use rhymes also in plays which are more serious in tone. So that is what, in a crux, we can say the summary of what are the four friends talking about, or what is in the essay of dramatic poesy written by John Dryden. Now we can go into the detail of what are the important points put out by these four speakers, and there are actually a variety of points, and probing deep into them will take a lot of time and space. So let's leave that for some another time and another video. So that is all for today. Till then, bye bye, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share and comment. Thank you.